Hi, elementary teachers. We're so glad to spend some time with you, even though it's remotely, and that stinks. We certainly know, um, as much as we miss not being able to do this with you face to face. I'm sure how you're feeling not having your little kiddos. Um, I want to begin by thanking everybody for doing whatever they've done the last week to take care of themselves and their children and their family. I know that it's been challenging for everyone, but I know, as teachers always do, and if anyone can, you guys have handled it like champs and rallied and done what needs to be done for yourself and your kiddos. So, a little bit about what's going to happen. We first want to say thank you for everything you've done to reach out to your kids and give them some instructional things to do. Know that moving forward, you may have to seize some of that. It is the expectation of the district that there is consistency around a few things. Understand that that is at the best interest of all families for Plano ISD. EAS has fought really hard to make sure that you all are allowed autonomy with some other things so that for your kids, things will remain somewhat familiar. And we'll talk about all of the tight and loose things as we go through this orientation. You all have the quick start guide, which is what I am casting to you. And we are going to just move through it section by section. Please jot down questions as they come to you. Pause and think about things and write them down, and then you will be able to submit them to any of the coordinators, and someone from EAS will be getting back to you as quickly as we can. I'm going to say we'll be here 24 hours a day for the next few days, but I hope you all aren't up in the middle of the night working on these things. Hopefully we gave you enough that this will be somewhat simple for everyone. I'm going to ask that you give us grace. This is new. We're going to give you grace. Ask your parents to give you grace. Number one thing to remember is this remote learning cannot look like a traditional classroom environment. And so do not try, which we're guilty of in the work that we've done the last couple of days, do not try to make a square peg fit into a circle hole. It really caused us some barriers as we were trying to pull all of this together for you in the short time that we had. So just you're going to have to let go of some things, and it's okay. Do the best we can. Stick with what your kids are most familiar with. Don't throw new strategies out or new tools out at them that they are not used to using. I think Sarah and Superintendent Bonser's message is probably something we can listen to over and over and over again. Just remember who we are and what we're about, and together we'll get through this. For those of you that don't recognize my voice, I once again drew the short straw, and my name is Mary Swinton, and I am with Elementary Academic Services. To my left on my Mac is the rest of the EAS team, ready to jump in and clarify if I start getting a little tongue-tied or unclear. Y'all need to know that we have done everything we can to get things to you as quickly as possible. When you see mistakes, let us know. We'll get them fixed, and I'm not going to say any more about that, right? All right. So today's time together, we've got about 4 or 5 things we need to get through. The first thing is we'll talk about just general expectations. We'll look at how we're going to get started providing this learning for kids. Although we know you all have been doing a lot. We will look at tools that are provided for you, the ones you must use and some that you can use. We'll talk a little bit about how to communicate and give feedback to your students. And finally, some support pieces, who's there for you, and your lifelines, so to speak. So If you are looking at the Quick Start Guide, let's just look at general expectations. I am going to read through each one of them because this is going out. Every single teacher must attend this and has to hear the same thing. So number one expectation, team leaders are going to want to figure out how this looks for your team, but each team should meet virtually at least twice a week. You need to collaborate, you need to plan for learning and reflect on the learning experiences we're choosing and the evidence that we are getting for student progress. A daily, weekly template has to be shared with your principal and stored through the end of 2020. We will be sharing that document with you. Yes, this is a must. It looks a little bit different from the secondary one. We had to fight quite hard to make that happen. And we believe that this document will work best for all, including pre-K. We've got a little revision for you as well. So we'll talk about that in a minute. You are expected to work together to create these learning opportunities. We can't, in a time like this when stress is high, our parents need to know that we are all on the same page with the same expectations. You must be available during scheduled and communicated time each day to answer questions and give feedback to your students. You cannot divide this up among team members. You can't say teacher A is going to do it on Monday, teacher B is going to do it on Tuesday. Every teacher must be available to all their students during the school day. Now, many of you are sitting home with children as well. You just need to note and let your parents know, while I am available during this time, I too am having to homeschool and do work as well. So if I don't answer immediately, know that I will get back to you as quickly as possible. I think as long as we're quite honest and transparent with our parents, this will run smoothly. I'll show you later in where the spot for that is that you can communicate to your parents what your availability hours are. When you are expected to reach out to your students and parents to ensure that you have all the accurate information that you need in order to contact them moving forward. In that email, if you haven't already, you need to provide an explanation of the online platform that you're going to use to deliver instruction and receive assignments and such. Again, we know many of you have used things like Seesaw, ClassDojo, Google Classrooms. We're not asking you to change your platform. If you haven't used a platform, it's okay. We're going to give you the support you need to get that set up. But please let your parents know what those expectations are. Then also, when you communicate with your students and parents by email, please include your grade level. This says course in subject, but I don't think you need course in subject line. I think that's probably more secondary. But include your grade level tagline up there so that the parents are aware, wow, this is coming from second grade. And then thank you, Rachel Beach, who's going to fix that right now. See, everything is changing moment to moment. Every teacher should contact a parent at least once a week to check in and give support. Y'all, this can be done by a phone call, an email, or your other platform. But I believe you kind of know how it feels to be out there hanging for the last few days. I know we do. They do as well. I mean, I think we're all beginning to understand it is hour by hour, and we're having to just really practice our patience. But let's think about how we feel and felt not having communication. Let's make sure we take care of our parents just as often as we can. But the expectation from elementary academic services is that you would do this at least once a week. And take a breath for a minute. Okay, you need to know your students' accommodations. Collaborate with colleagues to follow the guidance that has been provided by special ed and multilingual to provide all of those accommodations and modifications as appropriate. Know that those departments are getting information by the second about all of the guidelines around accommodations for language and special needs. So just stay in touch with your SPED Your SPED folks, I'm sure SPED team leaders will be communicating things, but it's critical that we collaborate in order to follow those guidelines so that we're doing best by our kiddos. All right, there will be no synchronous learning, which means no live video online instruction with groups or individuals, except for students with specific modifications or accommodations and with parent permission. You may want to highlight this. There is conversation going on in Cabinet right now as we speak about more on this. You can make videos and push them out to your kiddos. This is live learning, and there's a lot of questions we had around this, so just know there will be more clarification coming. We are not saying do not make videos. The kids are going to love seeing your face. They're going to love seeing you stand in front of a chart of 2 and 3 dimensional shapes, that you've drawn on a piece of paper. So do that. You just can't have the live thing going right now. For our 3, 4, 5 teachers, I'm certain this grades have just kind of kept you awake at night. For this first week, beginning March 23rd, there will be no recorded grades the first week of remote instruction. However, subsequent weeks, you will be getting more clarification on what that needs to look like. So just hold tight on that. And then we all know that if we're not giving kiddos timely feedback, it's going to be difficult for them to engage. So that feedback needs to be in a timely manner, or when you feel like they need clarification. So if they're dropping things into Google Classroom and they're not on track, you're going to need to adjust that learning for them in some way. All right, you may want to pause the video and really think about these, do some highlighting. Remember, the next section is getting started and talking about how to set up a platform. So I'll give you a second to pause if you want to. All right, the next section is called Getting Started. And again, team collaboration is a continued expectation for student success. We must stick together to do this planning. As I said earlier, you need to determine your platform that you want to use. If you're using one currently, don't change. If you do not use one currently, the district expectation is that you will use Google Classroom. If you go to the PISD Digital Technology Department webpage, they will have information on professional learning around these type tools. Region 10 is offering some webinar series, and the link to that is at the bottom of this doc. Don't worry about going there now. We'll talk about that support, but I'm going to say it again. Use what you're currently using to push out the learning. If you are not using anything now, it is the district expectation that you use Google Classroom. All right. The table below is going to tell you the amount of time that you need to plan for learning experiences for each grade level and each content area. Notice dual language teachers, you're going to be receiving a little addendum later to help you with your dual language program. I am not going to read through this table. I think you guys are probably looking at your current band right now. I do want to address kindergarten through second grade teachers. I think you'll notice that science is 30 minutes twice a week. Social studies is 30 minutes twice a week. Jess Malloy is currently working on some K2 STEM experiences that could be done on that 5th week. We are leaving them multi-grade, so if a family has a kindergartner and a second grader, they could work on the STEM challenge together. Those will be optional for you to use. It'll be a menu type look, and we will get that to you probably via team leaders. There is a website being developed right now just for elementary teachers in district only. We're waiting to get direction on that. Our expectation is that we drop everything in that one place, but team leaders and principals will be first to know about what our platform will be for getting you that updated information like you get daily from other departments. So that's time allotments for your grade level. Now, this is about 2.5 hours of instruction a day. We are going to ask that you pay close attention and really think about the amount of time we're asking kids to do this work. It should not exceed 3 hours, period, bottom line, maximum 3 hours. Minimum 2, but we know we go like 2:15 in one grade level, but just know minimum 2, maximum 3. There might be learning in one particular week that you got to go a little over just based on what that learning is. That's okay. Do not exceed 3 hours. All right. Now that we know how much and the platform we're going to use, it is the expectation that you use the UBD unit plans. Rachel, will you /UBD there? Because lots of people call our unit plans UBDs. You use the unit plans in order to determine the standards that you are going to be designing learning around. The department has gone through and highlighted what are the most essential that are due to the limited amount of instructional time that we have. We have gone through and chosen what you all need to design your learning around. So when you go into our unit plans or UBDs, you will see on stage 1, that's typically page 2 for most of us, and true for our Spanish ones as well, you will see highlighted standards. Use those standards to design your learning. And yes, we know we did not highlight all of them, and there is a reason behind that. All right, I'm going to pause again in case you want to stop the video and chat with your team or write down notes or ideas or questions. All right, so now it's time to plan. We've chosen our platform, we've looked at our time allotments, and so now we are going to begin designing the learning. Make sure that you plan for a variety of learning experiences. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. Don't put anything out there brand new that your kids and parents are going to be struggling to figure out what to do. Try to use familiar to them. Create some videos with mini lessons or demonstrations or modeling. Now, this can be shared among the team. Mrs. Swinton's class doesn't have to watch just Mrs. Swinton on a video. So know that. If you make these videos, please submit them to one of the coordinators and we will get them into a resource bank that all teachers can get in there and use, something you guys have been asking for a long time. So we will send out reminders. Hey, don't forget to send us those fabulous mini lessons and demonstrations and fun things that you're doing with your kids, and we'll start a bank by grade level, by content for you to be able to share with one another. You can create your own activities. It is highly recommended you use some hyperdocs. There's an awesome video linked here on how to get started with those. They certainly make planning for remote learning so easy and fabulous. That is worth a watch right there. Use the resources from the unit plans. Tell parents or guardians to read to or with their child. Encourage self-selected reading. And then for our pre-K only people, assign activities from the CLI Engage Family Resource. All right, so those are just some ideas, and y'all are the masters. So be sure and design the learning activities for students that meet the time on task expectations. We have somebody on that team that's got little kids that can maybe run through some of these experiences to say, whoa, that took way too long, or, we want to make sure that our parents aren't getting frustrated or our kids. And then below in the table, we are working on some things, and it's a live doc, but we are looking at some things to consider when planning for specific content. And I'm not going to read through those. You can look at those. I do want to say that this video for Discovery Tech Book was made specifically for our Plano kiddos. So if they've never been on, they can watch it, and it shows them how to get right to the reading passages and videos and stuff. Don't forget, all the videos you select should have closed caption, titles. Make sure the text in your documents is easy to read. Accessibility is really, really, really important. While we all love to get cute, we have to make sure that for some people, they're going to be doing some of this by phone. And so if they can't access it by phone because of graphics and colors and this, that, and the other, each one of you at your teams and on your campuses are going to, the type of accessibility that your families have. So please take that into consideration when you are creating things or pushing things out to kids. I'm going to use a science example, or even one of Ginger's. Take a shape scavenger hunt. Use a piece of paper and write down all of the things that you say. Take a picture of that and submit it to your teacher. I think almost everybody knows how to take a picture on a phone and send it in an email or what have you. But please, please, please think of all children and how they're going to be able to do this. And text specifically and colors are really important to consider at this time. That's one of those things that, while again we love cute and color, we've got to think about accessibility. I'm going to share a doc with you later that talks about guidelines for that. That is probably important to read. And then our pre-K's got some special notes there too. All right, what do we use? I'm just going to do a little. Don't open these documents, hold tight. Please do not start clicking on them. Just listen for one quick second. The remote learning template is a pre-K-12 template that can be used as a team to plan your learning experiences. It comes with a teacher guidance for that. And the teacher guidance page is super, super helpful. Things to use to engage the learning, things to use to synthesize the learning, because we want to make sure that the learning experiences begin with an engage, have some learning experiences in there. There is time to synthesize and practice the learning. So here's what we're asking you to do. When you are planning as a team, open up that remote learning template, determine who's going to, never mind on that, sorry. Use the remote learning template. Use the teacher guidance next to it to kind of facilitate questions that you guys might have as a team. That is a tool for you. What you have to turn into your principal and push out to your children is the next bullet. It is the daily, weekly template. I'm going to open our exemplar so that you can see we've been playing around in one. The template is tight. The components of the template are tight. I feel like I have this out in front of you. I would make you guys repeat it. The components are, everybody, tight. We must use the template. Okay. In the upper right-hand corner, we went ahead and linked this quick start because it's kind of going to be your most valuable document for the next few days. You must put your school name. Can I ask one of my EAS friends to kind of put in fake school names so that they know where I am? You must put your grade level, what week it is, and then the next section is that teacher availability. This is where you want to put when you will be available, but make that note if you if you want your parents to know, I'm home with a 6-month-old, or I have 3 children at home that I'm homeschooling. Kind of be patient, just so that they know there is a possibility that I might not be there right that second. Web desk is linked. Remember, this is a student-facing document. This is what your students will see, so the language needs to be in student language. Now, this is not your lesson plan. Rachel dropped in some reading language arts, just for you all to see. If we were planning for our class, what this might look like, sound like. What you put in these text boxes are loose. as long as it aligns with the standards that we highlighted on the unit plan. It is the expectation that you put student texts. Y'all, that's not for the parents or kids, but you are turning this in and holding it as a record all the way through 2020. We're not sure what the state is going to ask for or do or anything, so this is a cover ourselves, so put your standards over there. And then you must put learning targets for the week. And it may only be one per content area. Put them in student-friendly language. All right? I'm going to talk a little bit about Monday in a second, but let's just kind of look through. You notice there's a highlighted section at the bottom that says assignments due. We don't like the word assignments, but it's reflections. It's anything that you want submitted to you, and you may need to explain that to your parents. You may want to do a quick video yourself on the first unit, on the first template that you send out, like I'm doing with a Screencastify for your parents so that they know how to navigate through this. But whenever something needs to be turned into you as a teacher, it needs to be down in the blue row at the end of each content area. Now, notice in this particular week, Rachel is asking her class only once to submit something to her. All right? She currently uses Seesaw, and her kids are familiar with submitting through Seesaw. Therefore, when anything is due in Rachel's Reading Language Arts, Seesaw will be the platform that she uses for now. But let's go down to, I'm going to go right on past her writing. And on writing, she's not going to have something due until Friday. I don't know why that's not highlighted blue, but we'll get that fixed. Take into consideration how often you're asking kids to turn things in per content area. If every content area they're turning in something on Monday, I just don't think that's reasonable to ask of a student or a parent. So you guys need to work collaboratively to make sure that, again, that is well balanced. When I scroll down to math, this would be an example of, oh, wait, how did I get to, what? Oh, okay, sorry, Ginger did some work. Sorry. Now, I want you to think about that we're not in the same teacher's document anymore, because where Rachel used Seesaw, down here would be Seesaw. But we wanted to show you what it would look like if you were a Google Classroom person, how you might put that where assignments are due. We wanted you to see how it is important that you are consistent in all content areas and how you want your kids to submit. Now, if you departmentalize, we know that might look different. You guys need to figure that one out among your grade. Where you see red on this template was us dropping a note into you. Everything that you put in here needs to be student-friendly language. A kid can read it, open it, do it. All right? I'm going to be honest. Monica and I are still working on social studies and science, but I want to show you, consider using icons that when the kids see it, they know it means write. When they see a light bulb, they know it means think. Consider putting in some daily challenges that are just extension ideas that are for a fun of it. Those of your kids that are familiar with PAT lists, pay attention to lists, you can throw key vocabulary words in here for them to use. In social studies, we gave an example. These are just some icons that you might want to use if your kids are familiar with Flipgrid, Padlet. Those are great ways. I know you guys know that, to get information back from kids. Padlet, all the other kids in the class can see it, so that's pretty awesome. Flipgrid, you get to see their sweet faces and hear their sweet voices. I want you to think about choice boards. It might be that on a Monday, you want to put some things on choice boards. I think if it's a choice board that you're giving, it's to practice content. I know in math, perimeter for third grade, for example, is a new content. It's new. Ginger's giving me the yes. Therefore, there's some instruction. She wouldn't put a choice board up right away for that instruction, okay? And I know that she has been rocking in her chair, worried about checking along the way, specifically for math. If we are not catching those, any content, but in this particular platform, we've got to check those misconceptions early on and be able to fix them. We don't want them going 3 days practicing something incorrectly.
Correct.
You'll see that we've offered us some options, sentence stems. Parents might not be sure what you're asking for. Students might not be sure, but when we give them some stems to write from or talk from, that brings clarity to what it is we want them to turn in. So hopefully this mess of ours on this exemplar, light on the word exemplar, gives you an idea of how you might fill this out. I'm going to go back to the very beginning, not 30 minutes ago. This template is tight. What goes in it that's tight is the student expectations, the learning targets, your school name, grade level, week of, and times available. And there must be ways for students to show their learning. You may even, never mind, forget that I said that. I'm going off script. Surprise! But look how far I got before I went off script. Okay. That is the template.
You're doing awesome, Mary. Keep it up. Right. Almost done.
Yeah, the ladies with the long sticks tell me to keep it up. Okay, let's go back to the quick start. So here we are. I'm not going to open up that remote learning template. Again, you and your team need to open it up, look at that teacher guidance, and think about how you're going to use that to plan and organize the learning before you put it in the template. Now, here's what I think you might be wondering. Do we have to turn in the remote learning template and the daily weekly template to our principals? No. You turn in your daily weekly template only. I'm going to say it one more time. No, Monica, you're going to say it. Go.
Say it again.
No, Monica. They weren't listening to me. You are going to turn in your daily, weekly template only to your principal, not the remote learning template. Okay, that's it for planning. First of all, I do want to say before I pause for a second, or you pause the video, we know you certainly understand why we are not making day-by-day lessons. You need to do most familiar for your children. We did identify the content, and we are here to help you. If you can't figure out a way to teach a math concept, oh my gosh, Ginger will jump on a Google Hangout with you and talk you through it. Matter of fact, we want to. The more you, she's saying yes. The more we get to do that with you, we'll be able to help other teachers as well. So do not hesitate to say, we just can't even be, we've struggled a bit with how to put it in these 5 days, and we have been texting and emailing each other and hanging out with each other going, does this make sense? Would this be? So please use us and use each other. All right, I'm going to pause before I start the second to the last section. All right, here we go. We are in the final stretch, friends. I wish I had a good joke to tell you, but I don't. Okay, here we go. Communication and feedback. How you offer feedback is going to depend on how you collected the student work. And so that is, again, something that you all are going to need to work collaboratively as a team. And I think as we go through the next couple of weeks, or even couple of days, we'll be getting more information to you, helpful hints with this or helpful tools. However, expectation number one, your team must develop a system to provide consistent feedback to your students and parents in a timely manner. And your team must be consistent. If you say daily you're checking in and giving feedback, that needs to be every single person on the team. So I'm just going to say, if one of your team members has a 6-month-old and another team member has 4 children all in school, but yet you have a team member that is home alone because husband works for a company that is working 24 around the clock, and so they're sitting there really with nothing to do, we need to make sure that the system we put in place meets the needs of our entire team. Enough said about that. Remember, feedback should be frequent, specific, balanced. You can give a feedback sandwich, a little, hey, I can tell you worked really hard. It appears that your definition of perimeter is a bit off. Consider thinking, keep up the good work. That's the feedback sandwich. Make it appropriate for online. Remember that some context is always lost online. We've all read that text and thought to ourselves, what did they mean? We want to make sure that that does not happen. And then some tools for providing feedback might be Flipgrid, your Google Classroom, some individual responses, some email, things like that. Again, more is going to be coming out to you about feedback. And then the final bullet is just to consider flexible timelines. Remember to think worst case scenario. I'm a single mom with 4 children at home, and all 4 children have 3 things due on Tuesday.
And I have to work every day.
And I'm working. Thank you, Rachel. We need to be really flexible in those timelines. So consider that. You might be saying, well, do we have to can we just say by the end of the week? You may say whatever you want as long as the system is consistent across your teams as far as submission, but we don't want to give feedback once a week, you guys. We need to really be checking in with them more than that. And again, I know you know that. We understand that. I keep saying but I'm not alone. My team is right here. So really, really think about that as a team and being flexible. Where secondary is being asked to as well. So these expectations are pretty much pre-K-12. There are a few that we have made specific to elementary. But for the most part, this is the expectation across the board, and they were given to us to give to you. When we felt like they were not pre-K-5 appropriate, then we voiced our concern and they were changed to meet our needs. So there we go. Communication and feedback. I'm not even going to pause. I can see the light. Here we go. Support. So teamwork is the ability to work toward a common vision. And what's your statement today, Monica, about being strong?
We are stronger than our circumstances.
We are stronger than our circumstances. Use these emails below to write your questions. Maybe you have a person that you know better than the other, but it's a math question, but Madison Swinton wants to email me. I will definitely be sending it to Ginger or looping Ginger in. Ashley Davis is pre-K, but she's sitting on a hangout with us all day long. We just keep our computer on. And so reach out to somebody. Roxanne can help with dyslexia. Robin will be there for SPED, Tita for multilingual. If we could give you our home phone numbers, we would. There's talk about why that's not okay. Just know that we are here 24/7 for you. There is a document that you and your team might want to review. It's called Best Practices for Online Learning. Again, it is a living document. As questions are asked, they'll be dumped on there. Currently, the questions that are on there that can be have some answers are how do I set up a Google Classroom? Do I have to worry about copyright? What about grades? But remember, I already talked about grades. We are not grading this week, and more information is coming later. How do I make sure my feedback is positive? It's got some great questions and it's ongoing. So you might want to take some time to go in there. And then your best support, obviously, for the technology side of this is going to be our digital learning team, Fern and Lily and Leah and Clara. Y'all, I'm sure you can imagine how hard they are working to get what you all need. I need you to know, and I know you know this, there isn't a person in Plano ISD across the board, every campus, every department that isn't working overload at 150%, and all for each other. So they've got some great things in there, and they are also available. Let's drop their information up in the table. So it's in the quick start guide, you guys.
I got it.
Thank you. And then the last thing, Region 10, they put out a webinar series today and tomorrow to support remote learning. They've got some tools. I know you're being inundated with free and this, that, and the other. So are we, and we're trying to curate that stuff. But for right now, I'm going to say it one last time. Stick with what you know. Keep it simple. Give yourself grace. Give your teammates grace. Give us grace. Now is not a time for perfection. Now is the time to really just stay focused on taking care of our kids, giving them what they need to continue to learn, and help keep them feel somewhat of a sense of normal. I'm sure many of them are scared, and you are their calmness. They look forward to coming to you every day for the love and consistency and some of the things that maybe they don't get at home. So remember, that's the most important thing. Don't waste your energy on why don't we have this? Why haven't they made that? I wish we had. Put your energy on taking care of yourself and your kiddos. We think you are absolutely the best of the best. Team, want to say anything?
We can do this. We can do this, but I do have a joke in case anyone hasn't seen this already on social media. For those of you that are home with small children, trust me, we feel your pain. And somebody posted, if you start referring to your children as your coworkers and saying what they're doing, it's quite hilarious. So, for example, last night my coworker was rapping and rhyming while in the shower. Monica, how about your coworker?
My coworker keeps climbing under my desk.
So just a little entertainment. It's real fun to start talking about your children like that. Enjoy.
That was Bodie Beachy. Excuse me? All right, guys, the struggle is real, but we got this because we have each other. Love each and every one of you. And send those emails, send those questions.